In other news, a group in the National Democratic Congress calling itself Coalition for Rejuvenation and Reorganization of the party is rubbishing efforts by the executives to establish factors accounting for the party's defeat at the polls last December. At a news conference on Thursday, the group attributed the neglect of the grassroots as well as arrogance displayed by some government appointees as the reasons for the party's defeat.
When its defeat in the 2016 elections, the NDC formed a 13-member committee to investigate the cause of the party's historic defeat. The committee, which was approved by the NDC's Council of Elders, is made up of National Executive Committee members. But a group of NDC members are already kicking against this plan. Made up of some people who describe themselves as NDC constituency executives and founding members, say the neglect of grassroots and arrogance displayed by some government appointees led to the defeat. Spokesperson for the Coalition of Rejuvenation and Reorganization of the NDC, Kuku Ampia, says the move is unnecessary.
We basically lost because hundreds of thousands of our members and our supporters boycotted the polls in protest of years of neglect of party leadership, some arrogant government appointees, and the ineffective election campaign. Instead of policies, programs, and institutions to uplift its considerable and important constituency, our government offered only spin. We focused on unconvincing messages around infrastructure, distribution of gifts, which only fueled the public perception that government was corrupt. We paraded entertainers and fly-by-night campaign organizations who lacked political credibility.
Lined the party's restructuring as one of the key areas that must be focused on.
Despite our disappointment with leadership, our crisis will not be resolved simply by playing the musical chairs or playing the ostrich. We must shelve our premature and unproductive debates on 2020, that is, who leads us in 2020, and focus first on the systematic and organizational failings that allowed leadership to perform abysmally in the December 7th polls. We endorsed the 21st December 2016 call by Mr. Osei Asiedu, a Tema founding member of the NDC, for the establishment of the National Reorganization Committee to refocus the party on the needs of working people and the marginalized, and to rebuild our structures so we can deliver this commitment whether the NDC is in power or not. We support the position that this committee should be largely non-NEC members.
Right, we're taking a break on Joy News Prime. We'll be back with more. Please stay tuned. Now, the streets of the Ashanti regional capital have become unusually quiet. This follows a directive from the Menchia Palace imposing a partial curfew on part of the city as it observes the funeral rites leading to the burial of the Ashanti Hima. With some few hours, Joy News Maxwell Agbagba went round the town and reports.
It's some few hours to curfew time as it stands right now, some few minutes to 6 o'clock p.m. But at 8 o'clock p.m., the directive that was issued by the Menchia Palace is that at 8 p.m. to 4 o'clock a.m. the following morning, nobody is expected to step out because some rites and some other rituals will be performed for the final departure of the late Asante Hima. We are here at Dechemso, but coming all the way from the Menchia Palace here to Dechemso, where the hotel is located, the street is quiet and nothing really is happening. The few cars that you see on the streets are actually people who have closed from work and are in a haste to get back to their various homes. You approach them, you want to talk to them, they say no, they don't want to talk. We want to get home as soon as possible. So as you can see right behind me, residents here tell me that this street is usually busy on a regular day around this time. But as it stands right now, nothing is happening. Just one or two cars, you see them, people passing, trying to get home very early on time before 8 o'clock p.m. when the curfew is in full force. Let me get closer to this taxi driver and find out from him where are you heading to right now? Boshen. Okay, he says he's going to Boshen right now. What weapon time bang? And weapon. So what this taxi driver is saying that the passengers in there begged him to take them to their homes. So that's what he's doing. Right after dropping them, he's going back to his house. Okay, great. So these women are saying that, they are royals, they are members of the royal family, they just closed. The taxi driver says after this, he's not picking anybody again. Now, watch this street carefully. This is the street at Dichamso, usually very busy, but around this time, just some few minutes after 6 p.m., the road is dead silent. Nothing is happening. Look at this shop, for instance. This shop is closed. This is a TV repairing shop. It's also closed. Nothing is happening. Let's see if we can talk to this man right here. Yes. Good evening, sir.
Evening, sir.
Yes, sir. Talk to me. Where are you going around this time?
Oh, I'm heading towards Bokrom Estate.
Bokrom Estate. Okay. Are you aware of the directive that by 8 p.m. you shouldn't step out?
Yes, I'm aware of it.
How soon do you think you can get to Bokrom?
Oh, it's about 20 minutes drive from here.
Yeah. So you're hoping that you'll be getting there?
Yes, I'll get home before 8 o'clock. Yeah.
Are you going to comply with the directive at 8 p.m.?
Yes, definitely I'm going to comply with the directive because I'm working at the Mencha Palace Museum. I know the regulations, so I have to follow it. Okay. So, yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay. Okay. So he knows the rules and regulations. He doesn't want to break it. 8 p.m. he's going to sleep. So this is it. This is a street at Duchamso. Reporting for Joy News, Maxwell Agbagba.
Well, over the past 4 days, all eyes have been on Mencha Palace as the cultural practices of the Ashanti Kingdom come to the fore during the final funeral rites of the late Ashanti Hema Nana Afia Kobisewampem II. The traditional and funeral customs of the Ashanti people have left many wondering how they have managed to preserve their culture over several centuries. Israel FM's Ohiming Teria, the following report shares some answers to these questions.
What you are seeing here is a display of the rich culture of the Ashanti Kingdom. People are asking questions, how come the Ashantis for several years have been able to maintain their rich culture? And in this case, I want to find out from the great Ashanti chiefs who have contributed immensely to the preservation of the Ashanti culture. In this interview, I will be speaking to Ofeja Kotri Bonsra Afriye II, the Adansi Hine. And I want to know what is your Mechia Papa, the Yamiase. Nana, give me some education. How can you be able to maintain your rich culture?
Yeah, culture is a way of life, so it doesn't have to change. We can make some modifications, but we can't change it. Since a way of life, we learn from our relatives or our parents or our leaders. So as elders go, elders come in. So what we try to do is to help the youth to understand. That is why we try to invite people to come closer to us so that we can teach them. Because we learn from the elderly or the people we come to meet, and they pass it on, and we have to also pass it on.
All right, I hope the youth are also here in their numbers to witness what is happening today. What will be your advice to somebody who thinks that for culture is not as important as anything?
No, anybody who says that, I know people from maybe some tribes, they don't look at culture. If you look at the great nations like China, Iran, and all the other civilized nations, they have culture. And any nation without culture is not going to do much in terms of bringing the people together. So culture brings us together, and therefore, like you can see China, the Middle East. If you compare that to America, right now America is trying to find something. They have little things, but they wish they have something that can bring all of them together like this. So as far as our culture is concerned, being the way of life, we want to maintain it and keep it for good. And that is why even the British, during the British time, Ashanti was the only state or kingdom that was able to fight the British when they tried to destroy our culture. So we are not going to allow anybody to destroy the rich culture.
Would there be a time that Ashantis will compromise their rich culture?
I don't think so. There may be some little modifications, but we can't compromise because we try to pass it on. And as we pass it on, the generation after generation, they will also pass it on to keep the culture intact.
Before you are given the opportunity, the chief has to beckon you to come before you can say anything or to say a word to the dancing hine. So it's been a pleasure listening and also learning from the dancing hine of Ejakotre Bonsra every year. That's again.
I'm here with that report. Now, staff of the Public Utilities and Regulatory Commission have petitioned President Akufo-Addo to force the Commission's Executive Secretary Samuel Sarpong out of office. According to the staff, he was supposed to have stepped down from office up to January 7, but continues to work at the Commission. They also accuse him of engaging in corrupt activities. My colleague Joseph Opoku-Gakpo joins me with a copy of the petition. Now, on what basis do these workers say that they want Mr. Sarpong out?
So they make reference to the Transitional Act 845, and they say that per that act, anyone who was appointed by the previous president is supposed to step out of office with the expiration of his time. And so as at January 7, the term of Mr. Sarpong and the board should have expired, but they claim he's still been holding board meetings there at the commission, and from what they see, he's refusing to leave office because of some underhand dealings that he's been engaged in. And they claim that as a result of those underhand dealings that he's been involved in, him and his cronies, as they call them, are bent on hanging on to power, and so they've been lobbying some of the members of the current government so that then they would retain him as executive secretary. The staff are claiming that they are reliably informed that he's even paid some members of parliament to get them to lobby on his behalf so that then he retains his position, and they want the president to cause him to step down immediately and order an audit into his tenure as executive secretary of the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission.
They refer to some corrupt deals and underhand deals. What are these underhand deals?
They claim that during the 2013 and 2015 public hearing for determination of the proposals that had come to the Commission for tariff adjustment, various sums of money were paid into the private account of the Executive Secretary without recourse to the Financial Administration Act. And so the one that, for example, looked into the thing.
Did they present any proof at all?
They only go ahead to mention numbers in the petition. In terms of specific proof, they think that would come when an audit is done, a comprehensive audit is done, because they also allege that a lot of their staff who may be privy to some of these things have been victimized by the Executive Secretary of the Commission and other officials there. They go on to make another claim that the Commission purchased a software, for example, the DASA software, for an amount of 750,000 cedis. They claim that this amount was transferred into an offshore account, and till date, no member of staff has seen this particular software, and it's not in use at the Commission. They are again claiming that there were double payments. The Commission organizes some programs which are paid for by development partners, but the Executive Secretary and they claim the Director of Public Affairs and External Affairs, that's Nanaya Jantwa, the two of them connive, and when payments are made for travel expenses for activities that are funded by donor partners, they turn around and come and claim the money from the Commission again. And the final bit of their concern has to do with an amount of 4 million that they allege was invested in a project, an architectural design project for a new office complex for the PULC. They claim that this said amount needs to be investigated because the Commission paid it. They think it's very much on the high side. These are some of the alleged corrupt activities that they are making references to.
Right, but I mean, as far as you're concerned, they haven't presented any proof apart from the figures they put together in this petition.
Exactly the case. And they think that one of the reasons why a lot of that evidence is difficult to come by is because there have been unlawful transfers of some of their staff, they call it. So they claim that there's been a repressive regime at the PRC over the years. What the officials there, the executive secretary in particular, has done has been to ensure that employees who are against him are given, positions that would not allow them to get access to very crucial documents and to be able to do their jobs well. And so those are some of the measures that have been taken in order to get some of those documents shelved to a certain extent, which is how come they are unable to get any of those out there for members of the public to see. But they think once an investigation is done by the president, he would uncover all of those details.
All right, thank you very much, Joseph Opoku Gakpo. In other news, from branch operations manager of a bank to a farmer, that's the story of Yendi-born Saibu Mohammed, who, despite the odds and gravity of the choice he was confronted with, stood his ground and opted to invest his future in agriculture. He tells Joy News' Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin, President Akufo-Addo's recent declaration to work towards food sufficiency and create jobs through the agri sector has further strengthened his resolve that his decision to start a poultry farm in his Tamale home is a prudent move.
The first base I started with 1,000 layers. It came to a point it was giving me twice my salary. So I said, is it money I'm looking for or just be suffering somewhere for somebody who doesn't even appreciate what I was doing? So it was then I said no, because I was getting more than enough from the farm.
Saibu has mostly layers. He started with 250 guinea fowls and later switched to fowls. The number of birds have increased from 1,000 to over 3,000. So why has he decided to go into poultry business?
Actually, I was working in a bank as the branch operations supervisor. Other places they call it branch manager. And actually I wasn't okay with how things were going. Therefore, I had to advise myself. It's just like you boarded a bus or a vehicle, you are going to a destination. You realize that that bus cannot take you to your destination. What you have to do is to advise yourself and board or change another bus.
Saibu's professional training has nothing to do with farming, but he says agriculture is a lucrative business everyone must embrace.
Farming, I can say, is the best investment or job you can ever think of. For instance, with these few birds I have, a day if I don't get eggs, not less than 30 crates or 32 crates. So even if I'm going to sell even a crate, 10 Ghana cedi, a day I wouldn't be making less than 300 Ghana cedi a day.
Saibu intends to expand his farm to include livestock rearing and crop cultivation on another piece of land he has acquired in a nearby community. But does he have regrets?
As for me, the regret I have is I should have started this earlier instead of starting it 2014, but there is a saying that better late than never. So I have no regrets at all.
At the time of Joy News' visit, the eggs were ready to be sold out. The business has its own challenges, but for Saibu, this is just the beginning. He hopes with time things will change.
Watching Joy News Prime, we're taking a break, after which we'll bring you business news. You're watching Joy News Prime, and the top story we're looking at this evening is that Gambia has a new president after Adama Barrow was sworn in at a ceremony at the Gambian embassy in Dakar, Senegal. They have no celebrations in the Gambia capital. Banjul Yahya Jammeh is yet to relinquish power, but the very latest we're getting from this story is that Senegal troops have entered, said to have entered the Gambia. And this happened in the last few minutes. It's been reported by the BBC, which says that the invasion happened shortly after Adama Barrow was sworn in as president of the Gambia. We will continue to keep an eye on the situation in the Gambia and bring you updates as and when we have it. But back home here, the appointment committee will begin vetting of President Akufo-Addo's appointees from Friday. The first batch includes Senior Minister Designate Yasafo Mahfo and Albert Kandapa, as National Security Minister designate. Others are Finance Minister Ken Oforiatta and Trades Minister designate Alan Chemanting. With less than 24 hours to go for the much anticipated voting, the minority side of Parliament's Appointment Committee is complaining about the absence of CVs of the nominees. Deputy Minority Leader James Kluchaveji says the absence of the CVs is making the minority side uneasy. According to him, there is a need to have the CVs of each of the nominees to peruse it thoroughly to be able to ascertain whether the appointees are best fit for the positions they have been designated. By parliamentary practice, members of the committee must be served with details of the CVs of the appointees, whilst opportunity is also given to the general public to present any information of interest about any of the nominees to the Appointments Committee. Chairman of the Appointments Committee and First Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Joseph Osei-Owusu, however, says issues being raised by the minority are weak. Speaking to parliamentary correspondent Joseph Poku Gakpo, Ms. Osei-Owusu also dismissed claims by Boku Central MP Mama Yariga that the president's decision to nominate a senior minister is unconstitutional.
All the ministers, by law, are agents of the president. The president campaigned on a party program, a manifesto. So what we will be seeking to find out is what is it that they will do to make sure the president delivers on his promises contained in the manifesto. So all the castings should be geared towards getting the nominees to tell Ghanaians how they will assist the president to deliver on his promises. That's all.
So can we expect brutal series of questions or, well, treatment with kid gloves?
I don't understand what is treatment with kid gloves. We will ask questions that will let them demonstrate their capacity to help the president deliver on his mandate.
You spoke of them being appointees of the president and them coming to serve at the will of the president. One of the controversial issues that has come up is one that's been raised by the Honorable Mahama Yariga, the MP for Boku Central, about the position of senior minister. He thinks it's unconstitutional and that it's not something that the president should have appointed the Honorable Osafo Mafu to. Would you vet Osafo Mafu for that position as senior minister?
Yes. So does the Constitution mention Minister for Agric? Or does the Constitution mention Minister for Interior? No. The Constitution does not mention any ministerial position with the exception of the Attorney General. Even the Attorney General, the Constitution does not call him Minister for Justice. The Constitution just says there shall be an Attorney General who will be the legal advisor of the government, period. Beyond that, the Constitution mandates the President to appoint ministers of state. The name the President chooses to give to the ministers of state, or the designation and the mandate he invests them with, he charges them to deliver, is up to the President. That's why names of ministries keep changing. Various designations are given, determining the direction the President wants to go. As long as the person is not designated as being anything other than a minister of state. So, as far as I'm concerned, there's really no issue at all.
So what's probably stopped the president from naming him as such, as a minister of state, and rather chose to designate him as a senior minister, who then creates the impression that he is lifting him above other ministers, which is where Mr. Yariga's concern is?
You see, in this country, there's somebody we have called Chief of Staff. And that person, in the past, indeed under all NDC regimes, have been made like a super minister. All ministers report to him. He is not vetted by Parliament. He does not report to the Parliament. He is not subject to parliamentary scrutiny. And yet we make all ministers who have been vetted and passed by Parliament and subject to Parliament's questioning reportable to that person. So what is this about? Then this MPP style is to make whoever other people will report to, other people who a team leader report to Parliament. That's why Mr. Kojon Penny was called Minister for Presidential Affairs and Chief of Staff and put before Parliament. You know, so that name, Minister for Presidential Affairs, where does it come from? Minister, Chief of Staff, where does it come from? Is that constitutional? So as long as the person is a Minister of State, the name you choose to call him, he's not, if he were not a Minister of State, he would not be put before Parliament. You get me? So as for the nomenclature, I don't think that it's something that should hold us back or should be a basis for any discussion at all. We should not be wasting time. It is what responsibility the president gives him. And remember, the Constitution invests the president with all, underline the word all executive power in the president. And he's been mandated to select people to assist him. And so in selecting people to assist him, he defines roles for them. He gives them assignments. And sometimes the assignments that define the name that is given to the ministry or that Minister of State.
One other issue that's come up just today, the minority side of the House are raising concerns about them not having access to the CVs of the minister designates, and they think time is running out to be able to look through and do an effective scrutiny once they appear tomorrow. How come?
Yeah, that's a very unfortunate public statement to make. I was here around 11 o'clock when the clerk brought me my copy. Just within 30 minutes of that, the minority chief whip called that members of his side have not received their copies. And I made it clear there's not only members of his side. They're only just started distributing it. And so I called the clerk and he said that all his members are in his office. So I called the clerk. He said, oh, they have distributed some in the pigeonholes, but they will retrieve them and send them. Since all of them are in the minority chief whip's office, you could send them there. I don't know at that point they decided to go to the press and make it appear as if it's only one side. All of us started receiving them today.
But shouldn't this have been done long before today, looking at the fact that the vetting is less than 24 hours away?
When you say long, when did we publicize the vetting date? When did we write to the nominees to bring their CVs to Parliament? Remember, it is not when you start talking about it. It is when Parliament receives the communication, it's referred to the committee sits and decides the modalities. That is when you write to the nominees. So you should be counting the when from the timelines within which the communication to the nominees. We actually gave them a guideline as to how we expect the CVs to be presented and give them a time period in which to submit them. So the distribution will start from the time that it was received here, duplicated, and then distribution starts. So I don't think it's fair to judge that it is too late. In any case, I've been a member of this committee. This is my 9th year. It is not out of place at all to receive CVs 24 hours before work starts.
We're taking a break. We'll bring you international news thereafter. So the rest of our stories now. A frantic search has begun for a 63-year-old man who mysteriously disappeared days after being sent to the Tema General Hospital for treatment. The family of Ruben Anyaso is blaming the hospital for negligence. Joining us is Joseph Akable spent some time with the family and has come through with this report.
It's 8:30 a.m. on Wednesday, and the compound of this household is silent. Close to the door leading to the main house, the family members are busily discussing their next line of action, their eyes teary. It has been a long search for one man, 63-year-old Ruben Anyaso. 53-year-old Grace Anyaso is a trader and wife of the missing man. She is seated close to one of her 7 children, 26-year-old Kingsley Anyaso. Close to the empty seat is Ruben, another son. It's a story that started on the 31st day of December, when 63-year-old Ruben Anyaso, a retired accountant, was led out of this household to the Tema General Hospital. His wife Grace explains why Ruben was sent to the hospital.
He was vomiting and defecating. We took him to the hospital and were asked to purchase some drugs, which we did. They later told us his sugar level was high.
She tells me what happened afterwards.
One of his children paid him a visit on Tuesday. He realized on arrival that his stains were in the room, but he was nowhere to be found. We asked the nurses and was told he was seen around some few minutes ago. They stated that they even attended to him at 5 a.m. We haven't seen him up until now. Each nurse we engaged, we were asked to hold on a bit.
His two children share how they received the news. They both agree it hit them hard.
It was very shocking because actually when we heard it, we were like, how come?
Seriously, I was believing they will see him. Personally, I was believing. I was hoping that he will be found. That's on Tuesday.
Ruben's poor health did not affect his cognitive ability, the family says.
Each time we visited, he engaged with all in a normal way. I was informed by my child that the doctor had stated that he will be released on Tuesday.
Kingsley describes his dad's condition on his last visit before his disappearance as no different from that of a patient recovering.
When we met him, he was responding normal, like as a recovering patient.
Just before I left their residence, William told me what the hospital side of the story was. He's not convinced.
Before we went to him, we spoke to the administrators and the senior nurses, 2 senior nurses. We spoke to them about my dad's disappearance. They were like, they are on it. But it's like they are too calm. They are not that. Yeah. So, and according to the police also said they can't go around and search for him. They said they can't go around and search for my dad. Kind of response that they are giving is like they were shocked in some way. And
the administrator at the Tema Regional Hospital, Bote Abraham, and head of clinical center, Dr. Augustine Kwashi, won't speak to me on record, except to say they are still carrying out their own investigation. The matter is now being handled by the police, but the police too won't speak. For now, the search of 63-year-old Ruben Anyaso continues. For Joy News, Joseph Akable.
Then, as most businesses, including corporate institutions and traders, halt activities in the Ashanti regional capital due to the burial of Ashanti, it appears some transport operators in the capital, Accra, will have to adjust operations tonight. The Rena Mandi was at some bus terminals and filed this report.
We learned there will be a curfew in Kumasi from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. Our directors are there to find out if it will affect all the routes. Then our last bus from here to Kumasi will be around 7:30, 8 p.m. so that they will be there before the curfew. And then we'll stop and then continue from 12 midnight so that before they get there, the curfew is also over.
I hope by around 11 o'clock, our cars, some of the cars will pass at Kumasi. So, but it's not them all. Some cars will pass, and the road, the time that they will block the road, it will affect some of our cars. And we are thinking that maybe we will pass Ajura Road and pass to Ajura, to Techima, and get the road to go. But we can't park the passengers there so that they will suffer. We can't do so.
We do apologize for loss of audio on parts of that story.